Hi everyone and welcome back to your weekly installment of the Top 10. These are the hottest selling cards in Magic the Gathering this week from April 12th to the 19th of 2025. And what does this week's video have in store for you? Well, we're going to be wait, I can't tell you. You got to stick around and find out. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me for another video today. A reminder before we start today's video that if you're shopping for any of these amazing cards you see in today's video, don't forget to use my TCG Player affiliate link. It's found in the description of this video, and of course it helps out the channel. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the number 10 card this week, and it's Elspeth, the Storm Slayer from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Now when we're looking at this card, at the number 10 position, of course, that means it has the lowest sales, but that's still 1,735 sales, or a total of $78,000. Yeah, a lot of players are using Elspeth right now. When we take a look at Elspeth herself and the price tag that she's been kind of garnering from the population of Magic, this card is not really falling in price. It's actually leveling out, and there's a lot of individual stores with a wish list looking for this particular card. So the sales potentially could have been a lot higher than they are right now. And even if this card's losing a little bit of value, it's not collapsing like many other cards we've seen from Tarkir Dragonstorm, where they're trying to find the value point. Now, when we look at Elspeth Stormslayer, as a 5 casting cost Planeswalker, the little tiny bit right there, it says one or more tokens, you kind of get to double them. Then you get to create a 1/1 soldier, which of course creates 2. Then you can put all kinds of +1/+1 counters, and they gain flying. And then you can just destroy targets that are value 3 or greater. This card is amazingly powerful. And of course, it has homes already in multiple decks. Now, our next card at number 9 is the Saproling. This one I'm a little bit surprised, but then I realized what the card does. So 1,937 sales is $27,000. This card should be a card spike video card, but we're going to do it in today's video, just give you a short synopsis of what's going on. So when we look at the card at $13.98, you can see this thing just immediately spiked up in the last couple of days. And there's a reason why this is happening. When you see the overall jump of $12.43, it means this card was $1. Now, of course, we know we're going back to this set next year. We know this thing's been in a commander deck, but let's take a closer look at this card. Now, as a 5 casting cost, the Saproling of Conifer, well, this one's a little bit different. This tree folk says it has indestructible. When Saproling of Conifer attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you gain life equal to that card's toughness, lose life equal to its power, and then you put that card into your hand. Remember that Tree of Redemption, the 013? You can see where this is going to go. Our next card is McCready, the Lamplight Mare. Remember we talked about this in the card spike video. Universes Beyond Fallout locks in the number 8 position with 1,958 sales, or $68,530. That's an insane amount of money for this card that's already starting to trend down. The speculators have left the market. This card's at $35, expected to fall hard, but that doesn't matter for the moment of this video because a lot of players bought it, a lot of players are speculating, and the market moved, okay? Now, the monthly change on this card is $33.63. This is massive. But the question for all these types of cards that spike like this is, can they hold that level? Now, when we're looking at the Mare, it's a 1 black, 1 other. Now this lamplighting mare, this ninja man human advisor says, whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, it gains Skulk. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater attacks you, its controller loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. A commander card that a lot of players have been utilizing right now. It makes perfect sense. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. And this is the Bloomvine Regent, and of course Tarkir Dragonstorm. It's an 82-cent card. It locks in the number 7 position this week with 2,025 sales. That's $1,660.50. So what do we get for our 82 cents? It's a pretty inexpensive card. It's $1 at most. So what's going on and why are players now buying this card at this time? As a 5 casting cost for 82 cents, it doesn't seem like it would have a lot of interest. The pre-order price was like $7, $8. It's been sinking ever since, and it's still losing value right now. But all of a sudden, we have a surge in the sales. Like people just took a sudden interest. They turned around and said, what was I missing out on? Well, let's take a look at this card. The Bloomvine is a 5 casting cost dragon, okay? By the way, the artwork is pretty sick. I like it. Now, it has the Omen part, which lets you put 1 forest into your hand, 1 forest onto the battlefield, and then it has flying. Whenever this creature or another dragon you control enters, you gain 3 life. So this is going to have a home in multiple decks, of course, and dumping mana onto the battlefield is always a good thing. Now our next card, and it is the borderless version, is the Frost Cliff Siege. Last week we saw the regular Siege, and now we see the Frost Cliff. 2,130 sales. That's $3,940.50 of total sales action. So what are we getting for our money? Why are players diving into this card? Well, again, we look at that pre-order price of being around the $10, $11 mark. Then it dropped down to 9, 8, 7, 6. You get it, we're counting here. And it's going backwards. Right now, it's at $1.85, okay? It lost another $1.25 this week, but that borderless edition is pretty sick artwork. And a lot of players who were buying the Frostcliff said, this is just as cheap and pretty much as good because I like this artwork better. So I'm going to buy this card. I'm going to dive in on this one. Now, for one red, one blue, and one other, you have the Jeskai or the Timur, and you can see whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, or creatures you control get a +1/+0 and have trample and haste. Both of these effects are sick and powerful, and that's why players are buying it. Now, our next card this week coming in is going to be the Mardu Siegebreaker, and that is Borderless Edition again. $2.79, locks in the number 5 position, 2,469 sales. Now, we know from experience that a lot of players enjoy cards like this, and that 2,469 sales, that's a really big deal for the Mardu Siegebreaker, which wasn't even on the list last week. This card comes in at $2.79, not an extremely expensive card, and it's been losing a lot of value since release day. Even the weekly change is still negative $1.20, so why are we seeing again this uptick in the interest of the Siegebreaker? Well, when we look at the card for one black, one white, one red, and one other, it's a 4 casting cost, of course. By the way, sick looking bird picture. I love this stuff. Human Warrior 4/4, Death Touch, and Haste. When this creature enters, exile up to one other target creature you control until this creature leaves the battlefield. Whenever this creature attacks for each opponent, create a tapped token that's a copy of the exiled creature. You can see where this is going. You may have to sacrifice it, but it's incredibly powerful. Now our next card is the Windcrag Siege. Again, I've seen this on Arena like every single day I've played, okay? Number 4 spot, 3,300 sales, which is $5,346 of total sales action. Now guys, this is one of those cards I love. I'm enjoying it, but man, is it beating me down far more than I'm beating it. Now this thing here is $1.62 per copy. It is not an expensive card. It is readily available, but it's one of those cards I like to make note of because it's gonna be there. You're gonna face off against it. The weekly change is minus $1. 80 cents in Canada, that's about $1, okay? That 80 cents isn't a massive shift, but for a card like this, that's like what, 40% of its value lost in a week? Now the Siege is one white, one red, and one other. When it enters, you got to check Mardu or Jeskai. Most people are just taking the Jeskai. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 goblin token. It gains haste and lifelink till end of turn. That's what everyone's doing because you get all those duplication effects and you've got an army and a lot of life. Now our next card is the Mistrise Village. This one here has had a sorted past right now. Its price has been shooting up, shooting down, but I'll tell you right now, this is a card that everyone is keeping their eye on. Everyone knows it's going to do something at some point. That's just how everyone feels. Now, that's still $36,000 of sales action for the 3,670 copies that sold. This one here is one of those cards, when you look at that, you know what it's going to do, but you want it to do something big so the price can upshift. Because not everyone's going to play with it, but anyone who opens a copy is definitely going to hold on to it in case they can speculate and make some more money later on. So what are we getting for this card? You can see the weekly change is minus $6.94. That's just fueling more speculation on the market and getting people to hedge their bets and spend some cash. Okay, the wallets are open for this card, and that's why it's on so many wish lists right now. The Mistrise Village here, by the way, the artwork, I love it on this card, okay? I don't know, something about it reminds me of Portal 3 Kingdoms. When it enters, tapped unless you control a mountain or forest, taps for blue mana, and of course, you can make your next spell not be countered. That is a big thing in Commander. It's huge in Modern. You need to make things go off. I haven't seen it in Standard at all yet, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and that's going to be Baator, and that is the Ancestor's Voice, okay? $7 a copy from Commander, and of course from Tarkir Dragonstorm Commander decks. Now, 4,520 copies is actually pretty considerable. $31,640 of total sales action on this card, and when we look at what's going to happen with it in the long run, that's the big question, okay? I know a lot of people are trying to do things with it right now. I have some friends who are trying to mess around with it, and they're hoping to have a really good time. So when we look at this card and we look at the value shift, it comes out of the Commander deck. So of course there's lots of copies out there because everyone cracked Commander. It is hitting the secondary market and of course people in the collector boxes, but it's still losing value week over week. It's minus $4.99 for the weekly change, but I think this is one of those cards that's going to level out around the $5 mark and kind of stay there. But who knows, because we don't know what the rest of the synergy is going to be for 2025 or what other cards are going to have planned. Although I don't think there'll be that many more dragons. Depends what Final Fantasy gives us. So when we look at this thing, the Spirit Dragon here has flying and lifelink, but at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one other target creature control equal to the amount of life you gain this turn, and return one target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn from your graveyard. That's pretty amazing, right? Our number one card this week is Voice of Victory, and it's the Borderless Edition. It's $15.30 a copy. It sold 5,209 copies, which is $79,000 of total sales action. This one is basically in any deck I've seen that uses white has this guy because of the Mobilize 2, because of all the ways of duplicating all these tokens. You can make these massive armies that can wipe people out by turn 4 with not really breaking a sweat. Most often I've seen this with a Boros mix, but I have seen some solo white decks using it as well, although not to the same greater effect. It doesn't work as well as when you have Boros with you. Either way, it's pretty interesting, okay? Now the weekly change is still minus $2.95, but that doesn't mean people aren't playing with it. Because it's one white and one other, and it's a 1/3, it already can take kind of a beating when it first comes out. It has Mobilize 2, and it stops your opponents from casting spells, right? Which is pretty awesome. So when you look at all these effects, that's why it's number one and why people will continue to buy this card right now. The market for Tarkir Dragonstorm has been much higher than anticipated in the secondary market. All the boxes we've seen opened are now translating into a lot of singles hitting that market at record pace. And that means a lot of players are finding very good value as prices continue to fall. The question will be, for Tarkir Dragonstorm, what happens now? We are 2 weeks since the release date. Sales are higher than they've ever been in the last few years in these kind of areas of the year, which means set over set, we're seeing increased numbers. A lot of people are saying this is going to be the set of the year without really knowing what Spider-Man or Final Fantasy or even Edge of Eternities is going to bring us, but I know it's been coming up in a lot of conversations. When we think about the upcoming sets and where money is going to translate, the real tell of the tale of the take, whatever it's going to be, word salad at this point in the video, who knows? It's late at night, what can you say? When we look at this, though, I want you guys to realize that we don't know if it's going to continue. Next week, we could see a total dying off of the sales. We could see things totally mellow out as we get closer and closer and further away from Tarkir, but closer to Final Fantasy. With players anticipating the spoiler season and seeing which cards they may want to hit up, you might see the wallets start to dry up, which means there'll be opportunities for players because with so much secondary market value that have been opened from Tarkir Dragonstorm, most players tend to forget that these cards will turn around, and a lot of them are going to forget it for the next shiny thing, which means 6-7 months from now, some of those speculators out there are going to hit the market big, and they will have made a lot of money off of some of the single cards that we got from Tarkir Dragonstorm. We've still seen that with everything from Duskmourn, Bloomburrow, all the way through, and yes, even including Markov Manor, there was individual cards like the City Sewer Siege, Under City Sewers, and all those lands that just went through the roof, right? So I think we're going to have to wait for this, but somebody's going to make it out big because Final Fantasy will draw eyes away. There'll still be a lot of secondary market value sitting there. Prices will tank. More players will take advantage, and hopefully people are in the right position to do so. And in some cases, some of these Tarkir Dragonstorm cards are definitely meant for Commander, and we'll have to see where those pan out. And I know which cards I'm looking at, and hopefully you guys are looking at the same ones. Either way, thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here on the video. And of course, I look forward to seeing you guys for the reserve list top 10 tomorrow. It's going to be pretty sick. I can't wait to see some of the card counts, although I haven't really gotten involved yet. It's an Easter weekend up here, so here in Canada, so I got time with the family, so I'm not being as diligent about getting ahead of myself for the workload, but I'm looking forward to seeing what actually is happening. So stay tuned, I'll see you guys then, and of course Sunday we'll have the live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk then, guys. Have a great one. See you later. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons of my channel. Because of these patrons, we get to create daily uploaded content for everyone on YouTube to enjoy, but it's because of those patrons that content happens. Because without them, that daily upload wouldn't be possible, and we'd be doing something entirely different. So thanks again to everyone out there, from my patrons to my YouTube membership members, who make these videos possible. You guys are part of the team. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with it. Guys, thanks again. I'll see you guys tomorrow. What, you're here? You made it? The lights are on, but nobody's home? That's what people tell me in my family. My lights are on, but nobody's home. I don't care. This ramble jamble's for you, not them. You're going to learn something today. This is my Blue Yeti Pro thing. That's what I use for my microphone. See that nice little cover thing on top? All right. This is what I used to use. That's what I used to use. Can you believe that? That's how I used to do it. And I know that's sad, but I didn't have money back then to spend the $8 to buy that piece. Instead, I could get like a whole bunch of sponges for $1 and tape them together. Yeah, there, you just learned something. What would they say? Anyway, people in my family used to call me really cheap. I said creative. We've agreed to disagree. Now, let's talk about Tarkir Dragonstorm, because these sales and the fact what I mentioned in the video, people will forget. There are cards in this set that just seem like something's off about them and they're going to be big later. And I think with Final Fantasy being closer now than further away, and with the sales being as high as they are week over week, they have to trend down. They've got to kind of peter out over the next little while. And I just think that means that some of the money is going to be left on the table for people who can see beyond and make some cash. And I know it's a game. Everyone should be enjoying it. But for me, the potential of trading up into something more expensive later is always an appetizing thing. And I know a lot of people who do it. I don't do it nearly as often as I used to, but I know people who still do. So hopefully you guys have gotten the cards you want from Tarkir Dragonstorm. I guess this ramble jamble is a little more serious than I intended. Man, that's kind of scary, isn't it? I gotta tone this down. No. I started thinking about Jay and Silent Bob. I'm not going there. Guys, have a great one. Yo, Joe. Remember G.I. Joe? Yeah, that's where I want to end things off. G.I. Joe.